The Microsoft Whiteboard is somewhat boldly described by Microsoft as the freeform digital canvas where ideas, content and people come together. But I reckon we should have a look and see if it lives up to that description. But, oh, spoiler alert, I think it does. You can either search for the Whiteboard app from your Start menu, or bottom right hand corner you've got this Windows Ink Workspace button which gives you direct access to the whiteboard, so that's how I'm going to launch it. And as you might guess, you've got a whiteboard, a white canvas there ready for you to start drawing and scribbling and communicating your ideas on. And you've got some tools down at the bottom of the screen. You can change the location of that, I'll show you that later. But let me just turn on a black pen, for example, and you can tap it again to say, well, actually, I'd like a slightly fatter pen or a different colour pen or whatever, so you can change that. But anyway, let's imagine I'm pondering the workflow for a learner when they complete a course. So let me change the colour to put a blue arrow in there, so completes course. And of course when they complete a course they get a certificate of completion. So down on this toolbar I've got an insert menu, and when I tap that you'll see all sorts of other things that we can insert, and we'll do just a couple of examples in this quick demo. But I'm going to bring in an image, so let me choose that option up there because I've got a picture there of the certificate of completion. Now when I put that in, what you'll notice, because my tablet pen has currently got the blue marker pen activated, if I were to try and click and drag to move that around, of course I can't. I'm drawing, and you can just click your eraser to rub out that inking. So what I like to do is to use my finger. So if I just tap that with my finger, I can now move that around, and I can use the little handle here to resize it. But if you do prefer to use your pen, then you need to turn on this button just here, the lasso select button, and that will allow you to then click on it and resize it and do what you need to do. You'll also notice when you click on an object you get a little context sensitive menu that appears just above it, so that can be quite useful. Something else that I like to use from the insert menu is to add a note. So let me just add that, and it adds a little post-it note type of thing for you, and it's prompting you to enter in some information, and I could use the handwriting input panel here to input that, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just scribble on it with my pen. So let me choose a green pen, and let's imagine I've got a few questions. So a little heading there of questions, so something like, where are they stored? And again, I'm going to use my finger to tap on that so I can drag that to the side without inadvertently drawing extra green lines across the screen. Something else that you can do, if I just grab my lasso select button again and select that bit of scribbled handwriting that I put on there, on the context sensitive menu on the magic wand, I could change that into actual typed text. And you can see it's done it pretty well. It's understood my handwriting quite well. I'm just going to use my finger to scroll down a little bit and give myself a bit more space on this whiteboard. So we've got infinite space here to carry on drawing and doing what we need to do. And over on the right hand side, if you tap the settings menu, there are a couple of options here worth looking at. So firstly, you could clear the whole canvas if you wanted to wipe it clean and start again. You can also control the toolbar location, the default being along the bottom here, but you could have it along the side if you preferred. Also worth noting, format background. This might be useful if you wanted some sort of grid or some lines on the actual whiteboard to help you with whatever you needed to do. But the ones I want to show you are these ones up here, ink to shape and ink to table. So let's start with the ink to shape option. And what that means is when you start drawing shapes, so let me pick up my black pen, and if I were to draw a square, because I've got that option turned on, did you see it kind of convert itself into an actual square? And now let me draw a little arrow and then maybe draw a circle. Again, did you see the little adjustment there? And maybe if I draw a triangle. But the tip is, make sure that when you draw your shape, draw it all in a single stroke and close the shape, and then it'll work quite nicely. But note that these shapes are no longer ink. So if you were to turn on the little eraser and try and rub them out, well, you'll notice that I can rub out the arrows that I drew in between them, but these are now shapes rather than ink, so I can't actually delete them in that way. If I wanted to get rid of them, then turn on your lasso select option and then tap them, and there you go, you've got a delete button just on the context sensitive menu. The other option I wanted to show you was the ink to table, and this I think is quite clever because if you do want to quickly draw up a table, this is going to really help you do it neatly. So let me turn on my black pen again, and I'm going to draw a nice big square, and as soon as I then put in, for example, a row, then it knows that it's a table, and I can use these buttons up here to add extra rows and columns if I need to. And again, just going to use my finger there to scroll sideways. It's rather big, so I can pinch with my fingers to zoom in and out, or double tap to switch between full view, where I can see everything on my whiteboard, and double tap again to go into 100% mode. But let me just pinch again to go back to just the right zoom. If you want to adjust the table, I think the easiest way is to turn on that lasso select button. Then you can move your pointer over the dividing lines between the rows and columns and stretch and shrink them accordingly. So that does work quite well. But anyway, I'm going to add some text to this. So let's imagine we've got some sort of proposed change that we want to make. So the change, and we want to talk about the pros for each change and the cons for each change. So I'll put that up there, and we're going to populate this as part of a group discussion, which leads me on to the idea of collaborating with our whiteboard. If I was just sitting in a coffee shop with a colleague, then of course we'd both be looking at my screen here, or obviously I could project to a big shared screen in a meeting room. But rather brilliantly, I can invite other people to collaborate on this whiteboard at the same time as me. So look towards the top right of your screen. You've got this button here to invite someone. So if I choose that, I'm going to switch this option here to turn on web sharing, and that'll create a sharing link. And notice that I can turn it off at any time as well. So I have complete control over whether my whiteboards are shared or not. But the idea is you would then copy that link and share it, probably over chat or in an email or something. So I'm just doing that in the background now. And my fictitious colleague is called Nora Nugget. So on my other machine, I'm logged in as Nora, and she's just opening up that whiteboard, and we will start to see a few things happening on the screen in a moment or two. Can you see the NN at the top right there that indicates that Nora Nugget is also looking at this particular whiteboard? And on my other machine as Nora, I'm just going to move that square around. I'm just going to spin it around a bit and move it into a different position. And you can see the little marker there, the NN, that indicates that Nora made that change. And also, if I move myself properly over to my other machine, maybe Nora starts scribbling a bit of text into this table, then you can see that happening live on my screen as well. So it does work really nicely when we're collaborating real time. Now, if I click this home button at the top left, you can see that rather marvellously we can have multiple whiteboards. Obviously I can click this big blue button at the left here to create a brand new whiteboard. This one in the middle is the one that we were creating, and that blue circular symbol there indicates that the web link sharing is currently switched on, and you can click the options button to get back to that link to invite more participants or to delete it or to give it a name or whatever. And of course, if you want to switch to a previous whiteboard, then you can just tap that entry in the list, and of course that will then load. And notice if I just go back to that home screen, you can see that that content creation workflow whiteboard does not have the web sharing turned on. So that sharing is per whiteboard. So in summary, Microsoft Whiteboard is a brilliant addition to your touch device when you find yourself in an ad hoc meeting without a flip chart or a whiteboard, and it works brilliantly if you share it with other people in order to collaborate.